bad except for I think my neck
I took this out to that event thinking full well that I was going to have the great opportunity to actually rapid fire this gun, and as you could tell, it didn't work. Turns out the firing pin broke off, the tip of it broke off from this gun, and I realized this after I got back, that it happened probably sometime before I even went out there, because I remember clearing this out one day and I heard a little ting sound, and I didn't think much of it because I was out in the garage and maybe I knocked something else over, but it turns out, boom, that was probably the tip of the firing pin that just came off after, I don't know, excessive use or excessive clearing of the gun, which I am wont to do. Anyway, what we're going to do today is take this apart, and I'm going to show you how to replace the firing pin, and I'm going to show you different types of firing pins that are available on the market and what you need to be aware of before you actually purchase any of those items to fix the firing pin on this gun, because this is an older gun. It's got some wear and tear prior to you actually obtaining it. I think I probably put close to 500 rounds through this before I had problems. So, you know, that may give you an idea of what you need to be thinking about in the immediate future in case those parts become rare. So, let's get started. Alright, so let's disassemble this gun first, and then I'll show you how to take care of the firing pin. And then you have the housing for the slide, which also contains the firing pin. Now, removing the firing pin from this gun is actually fairly easy. The retaining pin, which holds, I don't know if you can see this here, the firing pin is this little lever down here. You can push down on it, and of course the spring is, there's a spring inside here, and then at the other end your firing pin comes out. I have the proper, correct firing pin in the replacement one. As you can see here, when you hit down that hammer, it causes that firing pin to go out like that, and then that sets off the primer, and then your bullet goes traveling down the tube to whatever target you have aimed at. Unfortunately, when I noticed that my gun was going off, I looked at the primer. That's the first thing I did, was look at the primer to see if it was being punctured, and it wasn't. Then when I disassembled this and looked down here, basically it was pitch black down there. I couldn't see anything even when I was pushing this out. So that's how you know there's something wrong. Usually that's the first thing I would check if your gun's not firing at all, is to check the primer on the bullets that should have gone off after you've let the bullet sit for a minute in the chamber, in case it's cooking for some reason. But anyway, long story short, we know it's the firing pin. So what I'm going to do to remove it is you have to use a pin punch of some kind, or what I like to do is use a very small flathead screwdriver. Take this one. As you see here, there's basically the pin. It's flat on one side, but it's divoted on the other, so it's easy to push it in and out. Do not take a flathead like this and put it in that ridge, perpendicular, because what you want to do is force the pin out. Now to do that, we have to take this here, put it at a perpendicular angle, and I find it's easier just to hold it in a hand like this, and then starting out, take your mallet or hammer or whatever and tap on it a few times. And with any luck, you'll see it starting to come out here. It'll start moving a little bit. And then you want to hit it just a few more times. You don't want to knock it all the way out, because if you do that, that firing pin's going to go flying clear across the room. So just do it a few more times. Oh, excuse me. When you get to about that distance, that's probably as far as you want to go before, and you can just do it like almost a little less than 2/3 the length of your pinky. At that point, you want to put your finger in here so you can keep that thing from popping out because it will go flying out if you're not careful. Sometimes it's best to take another screwdriver, flathead, or whatever you want to, like that, just to at least kind of block it from coming out so quickly. I might be able to just pull this out from here. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, you know what? I just realized it's out because one of the nice things about using a pin punch like this is you can stick it in there and it'll actually hold it in place, and then you can slowly ease it out. And then look, your firing pin's ready to come out. Now let's take a look at this doohickey here. As you can see, the firing pin, all it is just a spring that wraps around the center shaft of where the firing pin actually is. And then you have this little divot here. And you have this little divot here, and this is where that firing pin goes. And it basically keeps the firing pin from going too far forward or backward, so that it's not too far forward when or it only goes a certain length once the hammer hits it and causes the primer to go off. Now this is the new one. Let me show you what the old one looked like so you can see a comparison and difference here. Alright, this is the old one. And when it first broke off, I couldn't tell how much firing pin there was, since I never looked at it separately or when it was in the right, when it was actually still in one piece. But as you can see, this is the replacement one that I got from BCA Industries. You can't find it if you do a Google search or anything like that. You basically have to go to eBay, and you'll find one or two vendors that sell newly manufactured versions of this firing pin. As you can see, the distance is about the same. The scallop cutout is about the same. So in theory, this should be good. Now you may want to take it to a gunsmith and make sure it's absolutely perfect and pristine. What I would recommend you do is, if you want to be smart and have this Tokarev forever, you might want to get 2 or 3 of these firing pins, take your old one out and look at it just to make sure they're one and the same. Now I'm going to show you something. Alright, now, you saw those firing pins. Here is a Tokarev TT-30 firing pin, because in my haste to find a replacement, I figured, well, maybe I can get the predecessor, the TT-30, as a replacement. And you'll notice that there are a few little differences. Namely that the firing pin, let's see if I can line it up here. The firing pin is about the same length, but the scallop is quite a bit longer. It's almost like 2 or 3, maybe 5 millimeters, maybe almost a centimeter further back. So that could be a problem. Also, if you notice that the original 2 firing pins are round for the Tokarev, this one here is flat. Now, I put the spring on there. You can actually put it on and it'll actually fit over that almost to a T, but I'm a little worried about the way the scallop is. The scallop is a little deeper, which means the firing pin might go further out and into the primer, which might puncture it, which might cause the case to fail and explode on you and your gun. And that could be a problem. If I was more daring, or if I had the time, I would probably test that out, because one of the things I did notice is, you can't really see it here on the camera, but notice if you actually line up the 2 firing pins, the original and this Tokarev 31, or TT-30, you'll notice that this pin is actually just a smidge shorter, almost the same distance, but not quite, as the scallop is deeper. So it may end up being no different. But rather than find out the hard way, I found a vendor that actually had the original replacement Tokarev that was good. It's good for Polish, Romanian, Hungarian. I don't think it's good for Yugoslavian. I think you have to get a different one for that, but it's good for all 3 of those Tokarevs. So this is one we're going to put back in. So you slide the spring over the firing pin again. Now, when you put this back in here, let's see if it'll focus. When you put the firing pin back in here, you have to make sure the scallop is facing up, because that's where your firing pin is going to go back through, or the retaining pin is going to slide through that scallop there. So you fit it back down the hole carefully. You can see here it's not all the way in. Alright, now I remember what I had to do. I took the screwdriver, the flathead end of the screwdriver, pressed down that firing pin as far as I possibly could. Then by doing that, you can literally slide this firing pin down, or the retaining pin down, Push it down in a little harder. Then after that, for the last few steps, and just to be safe, I'm going to hold down on it some more. Take your mallet and pound it in. And look at that, just a few taps and it's already flush again. And that's how you do it, folks. It's very simple. Boom. Boom, bitches. It's done. So hopefully after that you should have a working Tokarev. It should be good for some time to come. And you know what? That's all she wrote, folks.